Let's have a listen to one of the protesters who was down at the Britannia Hotel yesterday. She was asked about the Prime Minister.
And what do you say to Keir Starmer and the Labour government?
Waste. He's ruined this country. Ruined this country. Nobody in England likes Keir Starmer.
Yep, I'm afraid she does speak for the nation. Isabel Oakeshott, very good morning to you.
Good morning. What a comical clip that was of Angela Eagle. I mean, doesn't just completely sum up the utter abject uselessness of this government when tackling what should be quite a simple problem to resolve. And I'm hearing them banging on this morning about changing the rules for universities, punishing universities that accept too many that don't actually start their courses. And they're using it as a ruse to claim asylum. I mean, you can just approach this much more simply and simply say, if you're the government, that if you come here on a student visa, you are automatically disqualified from claiming asylum.
Yeah, absolutely right. It seems so straightforward when you put it like that, in the same way as we just heard from Anne Widdecombe, who said, you know, we've got a perfectly simple solution to this. And I said, well, surely you've got to get these people out of asylum hotels. And she said, yeah, get them out of the asylum hotels and put them into effectively, you know, detention camps or army camps or, you know, former holiday camps, that kind of thing, which can then have an enforced perimeter. And until such time as you've declared them either welcome or not welcome, that's where they stay.
Yes, I mean, Greece has managed to get itself a kind of derogation from these international treaties that we seem to be, well, I say we, our leaders seem to be so obsessed about not breaching. Greece has said we've got a national emergency, too many people coming in, and have managed to get themselves an opt-out. And they've also been very clear that anyone who comes to their shores illegally will be detained and kept in pretty rough conditions. Compare and contrast with what we do, which is, as everybody now knows all too well, provide not just luxury accommodation, but all manner of other totally unnecessary extras. And what we're now seeing, Mike, and I think this is fascinating, is a rise in citizen journalists who are getting quite brave about just going into these hotels and filming or filming through windows. I don't think that, I don't know what laws that breaks. It probably does break some laws. I'm not encouraging it at all. But the outcome is that we are much better informed. I saw a clip on Facebook yesterday from somebody who just walked into a hotel and started filming. And that revealed that there were laptops, new laptops in the bedrooms of these migrants. That's something we didn't know. Not one, but two smartphones in some of these rooms. I mean, this is just getting completely and utterly out of control. And the protests that we're now seeing across Britain are an expression of the exasperation and fear and frustration of so many people in this country who can see that this has gone way too far and are actually worried about the very real impact it's having on their own communities.
Yes, and we saw some really ridiculous things over the weekend as well, didn't we? We saw, for example, outside the Britannia Hotel, where the police were effectively escorting a guy on an Uber Eats bike out through the crowd. Now, I don't know if the Uber Eats bike man that you can see there, I don't know whether he works for Uber Eats outside of the hotel and was delivering to the hotel, or whether he actually lives in the hotel and is working illegally. But this was actually reposted by Nick Timothy, the Tory MP, who said it would appear that the police force in this country now is escorting illegal workers through a perfectly peaceful protest of people who pay taxes. And that's where we are.
I mean, that is a complete and utter disgrace and an example of how topsy-turvy everything has become. And this morning, what's exercising me is exactly who are these masked protesters, these masked thugs that somehow or other suddenly arrive en masse a couple of hours into peaceful protests and create merry hell. Who are these people that are somehow equipped with smoke bombs and cover up their features? You know, that protest yesterday, my researcher was there outside that hotel in Canary Wharf, was vast majority, mums and children. They had gone out of their way to show that they were not in any way anything other than peaceful. They were wearing pink. It was all very sweet. You know, they were doing the conga. It was just, a very, very British demonstration. And then all of a sudden, a few hours in, there appeared to be an organised attempt to disrupt it. I have real questions about who these masked thugs are, and it's all too convenient in my view. I'd like to know what is the organisation behind these people, because it isn't a spontaneous thing. Of course it isn't, and it gives the police exactly the excuse they need to disperse a crowd.
Yeah.
Something fishy about this. As a journalist, all my instincts are saying that this does not stack up.
No, exactly right. And similarly, it wasn't interesting what then happened, because the police then issued some kind of dispersal order, and an order that was going to be in place for 28 days, supposedly, to say that nobody could demonstrate outside of the Britannia Hotel for the purposes of 28 days. For the length of time of 28 days. And then it turns out that a lot of people started asking questions whether that was legal. A lot of lawyers got involved. I think some MPs tweeted about it as well. And it turns out that actually they did get it wrong. And then they issued a sort of bizarre clarification to say, oh yes, we haven't banned protesting. We've only banned the people who we've banned from protesting, i.e. the people who were trying to cause damage at the hotel. So I don't think the police even know what the law is on that.
I mean, that was a shambles yesterday. I mean, there's clips of a policeman saying, addressing somebody who appeared to be perfectly peaceful. I couldn't, of course, see what happened before and afterwards, saying, that's it, you can't come back from here for 28 days. And the impression created was that nobody who attended that protest would be able to return for another 28 days, which begs the question, well, what if a whole different set of protesters come? Is that okay? What happens if the same set of protesters reappear wearing masks, like some of the far left thugs that we see alongside a handful of far right thugs?
Yeah.
Complete and utter shambles. And I think the bigger picture here is that in his desperation to contain this kind of grassroots ground swell of opinion across the country, of frustration, this outbreak of frustration, Keir Starmer and the machinery of the state are having to resort to ever more authoritarian measures, such that we have people in crowds being told you are basically banned from protesting for another month. And this is the way things are going. We saw it as soon as Starmer came to power in the summer riots last year. That very draconian crackdown and crazy disproportionate sentences of supposed far-right thugs like Lucy Connolly. And we're seeing it again now. And, the government should be truly terrified when large numbers of women and children are taking to the streets in the way that they did outside that hotel in London yesterday. They're not far-right thugs. That narrative is no longer possible to sustain, and in fact looks increasingly like a joke.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's not just happening in one place, it's happening in multiple places, and with every week that passes, it will happen more. And of course, I can give you, if you haven't seen it yet, the first tweet of the day from Keir Starmer came out about an hour ago. I will use every tool at my disposal to secure our borders, it says. We are investing in our Border Security Command, extra officers and new technology to smash the gangs putting lives at risk in the Channel. That's my plan for change in action. And I can't even tell you what the first reply to it is, because it's so rude. But I can tell you that every single reply underneath it is the same.
I mean, that is absolutely pathetic.
Isn't it?
You had a caller earlier saying, we're not stupid. Really, using every tool at your disposal, Prime Minister? As far as I can see, you've used barely any tools.
Yeah.
You've used the lightest possible little, spanner to put in the works and make things worse, if anything, by continuing to offer the most astonishingly luxurious and discretionary accessories and other goodies for people that come into our country. He's not using the half of the powers that he has available to him. And I just don't understand why he thinks he can go on politically doing more of the same.
Yeah.
This is blowing up already.
Yeah, exactly. And he still has not addressed the cares and the concerns of all of those women, as you describe, outside either the Britannia Hotel or outside the Bell Hotel in Epping, or outside the hotel in Diss in Norfolk, or outside the apartment complex in Waterlooville. You know, he seems to specialise, this Prime Minister, in hoping that if he sticks his head under the pillow, by the time he wakes up, it will have all gone away. But it's not going away.
What he needs to do is get out onto Downing Street and declare a national security emergency. And that is no exaggeration. Other countries are doing it, and probably with less cause than we have. He's got every justification to do that. All he needs to do, apart from anything else, is cite the Iranian terror suspects that the government made such a song and dance about arresting some time ago. There is a national security crisis, there is a national emergency, and if he stood on Downing Street, declared that, opted out on a whatever, I'd like it to be a permanent basis, but at least for this lot they could have said it's temporary, of those international treaties that apparently force us to accept anyone who comes in, and said this is it, we're not doing this anymore, and anybody who continues to come over will be incarcerated. No more hotels, no more taxpayer-funded private accommodation. You are going to a detention centre pending your swift deportation.
Absolutely right. Incredible stuff, isn't it? Isabel, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed, Isabel.